Hi everyone, it's David from Lem Power here. Welcome to another episode of Invest Power series today. What have we got? I looked around the room and I thought actually what I could cover today is about inspections. What would I be looking for during inspections? And I thought I'll share a couple of my personal things that I would look out for as I walk into a house and what I think would be big ticket items. In other words, something that could potentially cost you a lot of money down the track to fix and see whether we could pick them up as you inspect the property. Okay, so I do need to caveat this a little bit because I am not a certified tradesperson. I'm not a certified and qualified builder, and therefore, what I'm about to say today is purely just based on my personal experiences. And I would strongly recommend you that you seek professional trades that are qualified and certified to come to the inspection with you, just to ensure that you get their professional opinion. Okay. The number one things that I will look out for will be cracks on the wall. Fairly logical, right? First thing is you walk into a house and you have a look around the house and you go, oh, there's a bit of crack in the house on the wall. If it's a visible crack in the house, then you definitely should be a bit wary about it, because that usually means that there's potentially structural issues. Again, you need to actually seek professional advice on this. Most of the time, as time goes by, there will be some ground movements. So, like sometimes for a house that's about 40, 50 years old, it is quite typical to see some cracks in the wall. So don't need to be too fussed about it, but just keep that in mind. If the cracks are huge and clearly visible, then certainly you need to be a bit mindful about there could be some potential bills that's coming your way in order to get them rectified. And anything that's to do with structural fix could be really costly. So if you're seeing visible cracks and you're not comfortable with it, my recommendation is definitely get a certified qualified builder involved and to do that proper inspection, carry out a proper building inspection, just to make sure that you've got that ticked off before you move on to the next contract process. Tip number 2, molds and black dot areas. What does that mean? So if you walk into a room and you can actually see there's some patchy dots on the ceiling, or even more clear, there's molding around the ceiling, or molds around the ceiling, and you can smell slightly moldy smell in the as you walk into a room. That is indication that there's water that's basically accumulated on top of the ceiling and it's not going anywhere. So that could cause a lot of damages because, as you could imagine, the water is not flowing anywhere else and it just basically stays there. And how would the water get in the first place? If a house is enclosed properly, then the water shouldn't be getting in. So if the water was able to get in, that usually means that sometimes there's a leak in the roof. And that's where you need to engage qualified trades, such as a handyman, a builder, a plumber, to make sure that you understand where the leaking is, how severe the leaking is, and how severe the damage is to the room, in order to be able to make a decision and be able to identify how much potential cost it's going to be in order to rectify this issue. It's not the end of the world, but definitely something to keep in mind. Because anything, unfortunately water is not really a friend to a house. If you're seeing water around the house and not going anywhere, then that is not a good sign. Okay, so that's the tip number 2. Okay, my inspection tip number 3. Is the water flowing into the house or is the water flowing out of the house? That is an important one because, let me give you an example. The first thing as you walk up to a house, you'll walk through the driveway, and if you see that the driveway is sloping in to the house and the house is being built at the bottom of that slope, what do you think is going to happen when the heavy rainfall comes through? All the water is going to stay underneath the house, right? And what do you think if the water keeps accumulating under the house and not going anywhere? Okay, well, that's going to cause a lot of structural issues in the long term because, not only you can actually smell that, it's going to cause a lot of mold and dampness underneath the foundation, and also because, it's going to soften the foundation. That means the walls they're more prone to more structural issues and the walls will have more cracks as time goes on. So That's why it's important to make sure there's adequate drainages around a house. If the water is flowing into the house, just to make sure that those waters are being diverted away from the house, or otherwise, in the ideal scenario, the water doesn't even go underneath. The water will go around the house rather than basically going through the foundation. That's the ideal scenario that you want to ensure. Okay, that's the first thing you should check, is to make sure that the water is getting out of the house. And also, one other tip is when you're walking around a house, check the gutters. You know, if the gutters around the house, are they diverting waters to adequate drainages, or are they just diverting waters to like the soils around a house? Because as you could imagine, again, during the heavy downfall, if the water flows down the gutter and essentially not going anywhere, then eventually they're going to be saturated just around the base, around the house, and not going anywhere. So you want to avoid having water being stagnated underneath the house, and that's the whole idea. So that's another visual inspection that you can do. Now, how to rectify that? If you've got concerns around the water around the house, make sure you engage a certified plumber. They can actually come out and suggest whether there's a way that could improve the drainage around the property, or they could add additional gutters and make sure there's ways to work around it. But again, seek professional advice. Okay. So that's my 3 tips in terms of what you should be looking out for during inspection of a property. These are the bigger ticket items, as I said, mostly around either the building issue or water issue around the home. So anything along the building or water, plumbing issues, they're usually in the very costly area. That's why I thought I want to point them out. At least it's something that you're mindful of next time when you walk into an inspection. Okay, I'm David from Lempower. Thank you for watching another InvestPower episode. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment below. Otherwise, I'll see you in another episode of InvestPower.